Look, you're not actually broke. You're just ghosting your own bank account because your subconscious thinks those numbers are a literal threat. I mean, I get it. That notification from your banking app pops up and your heart rate spikes like you just saw, "We need to talk" text from an ex, right? So you swipe it away. You ignore the balance. You tell yourself you'll check it after the weekend or once that hypothetical check clears. Listen, that's not laziness and it's definitely not just bad vibes. It's a literal survival instinct gone wrong. In psychology, we call this the financial flight response. Your brain's amygdala, that ancient part of your gray matter designed to protect you from tigers and falling rocks, is processing a low balance or a credit card statement as a life-threatening predator. It triggers a cortisol spike that makes you want to run, hide, or distract yourself with 3 hours of mindless scrolling. You're not failing at adulting. You're being hijacked by your own neurobiology. But here's the reality. You can't win a game you're afraid to even look at. No nonsense. If you keep ghosting your money, I promise you, your money will eventually ghost you. Determined, we're going to stop the bleeding right now. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to hack your subconscious to flip the script. Intense, we're going to turn that phone in your pocket from a source of low-key panic into a high-octane dopamine-fueled scorecard for your success. We're moving from avoidance to absolute dominance. Let's get into the mechanics of how you've been wired to stay poor and how we're going to rewire you for wealth. Look, we need to have a real conversation about what's actually happening in your brain every time you swipe past that low balance notification or just straight up refuse to open your banking app. Firmly, in psychology, we call this experiential avoidance. But let's be real. In the world of high performance, I call it a systemic failure of your personal OS. Tough love. Every time you ghost your finances, and I know you do, you weren't just avoiding a number on a screen. Intense, you're performing a live training session for your subconscious, right? Direct, you're teaching your brain a very specific, very dangerous lesson that you are not capable of handling reality. Harshly, you're essentially telling your own mind that you're a fugitive of your own life. And your brain, being the efficient machine it is, starts to internalize that identity. You stop being the CEO of your life and you start becoming a passenger who's just too scared to look at the map. This creates what I call background radiation of stress. I mean, even when you're out with friends, at the gym, or trying to lock in on a project for class, there's a low-level frequency of anxiety humming in the back of your skull. You might think you're relaxed, but your nervous system knows you're running from something. Urgent, that radiation leaks into every area of your life. Firmly, it kills your focus, it drains your dopamine, and it makes high performance literally impossible. Think about it like this. No world-class athlete ever won a championship by refusing to look at the scoreboard. No elite CEO ever scaled a company by ignoring the data. See, data is just information. It's neutral. But by turning it into a monster in your head, you've given it power over your mood and your productivity. You're trying to build a high-performance engine on a foundation of avoidance, and that's why you feel stuck in the same place, month after month. You're running a marathon with a 50-pound vest of unresolved business strapped to your chest, right? Listen, you can't optimize what you won't measure. If you want the lifestyle of a top-tier performer, you have to stop acting like a victim of your own bank account. You have to realize that the fear of the number is actually doing more damage than the number itself. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you understand how this avoidance has been sabotaging your brain's ability to execute, you can actually use those same psychological mechanisms to do the opposite. You can turn that anxiety into an unfair advantage. Because the weirdest part about this whole ghosting cycle, it's actually hiding a massive psychological loophole that most people will never discover. Look, your brain is running on software that's 50,000 years old? Firmly, it doesn't actually understand what a digital transaction or a declined notification is. Seriously, to your amygdala, that tiny almond-shaped part of your brain responsible for processing fear, a low bank balance isn't just some budget issue, it's a physical threat. See, back in the day, a lack of resources meant you were going to starve or get kicked out of the tribe. It was literally a death sentence.
So when you feel that pit in your stomach before opening your banking app, bluntly, that's not just stress, okay? That's your brain's survival instinct screaming that there's a predator in the room. Your biology is literally glitching. When you ghost your finances to avoid that feeling, you think you're protecting your peace, right? Wrong. You're actually triggering a flight response. Firmly, you're paralyzing your productivity. You're running away from a monster that doesn't even exist, and while you're running, you're way too distracted to actually make the moves that generate real income. Sternly, you're essentially staying in victim mode because your brain thinks the numbers are the enemy. Here is the aha moment you actually need to internalize. Wealth doesn't come from manifesting or vibes. It comes from high-level exposure therapy. To win, you have to desensitize your amygdala. You have to look at those numbers, even if they're ugly, even if they're zero, until your brain finally realizes they can't actually bite you. Inspirational. This is the pivot from being a victim to being a player. You have to stop viewing money as a threat to your survival and start viewing it as a scorecard for your performance. Clear-eyed. Once the fear is gone, your subconscious stops blocking the moves you need to make. Pointedly, you'll start seeing the side hustles, the networking opportunities, and the high-value tasks you used to ignore because you were too busy, hiding. When you stop being afraid of the score, you finally start playing to win. But even after you fix the amygdala glitch, there's one more psychological barrier standing between you and a six-figure mindset. Seriously, and honestly, it's the exact reason most grind-set influencers fail within their first 6 months.
Look, that barrier is the action gap, and we're closing it right now with what I call the HighPerformance Wealth Stack. Listen, this isn't some dusty save your pennies lecture. This is a tactical nervous system rewire designed to turn your financial anxiety into aggressive momentum. First, we implement the 60-second audit. Every single morning at 8 a.m., no exceptions, you open your banking app and you look at your balance. I don't care if it's $5 or $5,000, right? Most of you are ghosting your accounts because you're terrified of the cortisol spike that comes with seeing the truth. I mean, you're literally running from numbers. By forcing yourself to look every morning, you're using exposure therapy to desensitize your brain's fear response. You're teaching your amygdala that a number on a screen cannot hurt you. Once the fear dies, your rational brain can finally take the wheel and start making actual power moves. Tough love. Second, we're changing the locks on your vocabulary through identity labeling. Go into your banking app right now and look at your emergency fund. Look, that name is trash. It's fear-coded, you know? It tells your subconscious that you're just waiting for something bad to happen. Rename it to your war chest or your launch pad. Your brain reacts fundamentally differently to growth-coded language than it does to survival-coded language. It's just science. You don't save for a rainy day. You capitalize a war chest to fund your future dominance. It sounds small, but you're literally hacking your dopamine system to reward growth instead of just masking fear. Third, we're going to gamify the friction by automating a micro-tax. Urgently set up an auto transfer so that every time you buy something non-essential, the overpriced latte, the DoorDash order, the new fit, you send just $5 to your launch pad immediately. Firmly, this creates a psychological spend-to-earn reflex. You're training your brain to understand that every time you deplete your resources on low-value consumption, you're required to make a simultaneous move toward your long-term wealth. You're turning your bad habits into a tax that funds your freedom. This protocol works because it stops treating money like a math problem and starts treating it like the psychological game it actually is. You're building a reflex for success that doesn't require willpower because the system is already running in the background. But here's the catch. Here's the catch. You can have the perfect stack and the coolest account names, but there is still one invisible script running in the back of your mind that could delete all this progress overnight.
Analytically, it's a concept psychologists call relative deprivation, and it's the reason why even millionaires can feel like they're failing. Firmly, if you don't understand how your social circle is literally editing your bank balance without your permission, you're already losing a game you didn't even know you were playing. Look, it's actually time to stop letting your social feed dictate your dopamine baseline, you know? That feeling of not having enough, it's a glitch in your hardware, not a reality of your bank account. No nonsense. To win this game, you have to transition from being an emotionally reactive consumer to a data-driven architect. Wealth isn't some random number that magically appears in a vault one day. It's the residual byproduct of a mind that refuses to be ghosted by its own potential.
Think of your finances like a high-performance engine, right? If you're constantly redlining because you're trying to keep up with someone else's highlight reel, you're going to blow the motor. We're moving past that phase of vibes and luck. From this second forward, you aren't just trying to save money. You are building a war chest legacy. You are the CEO of your own mental bandwidth. You're becoming the person who makes decisions based on the long-term trajectory, not the short-term spike. Here is your challenge, the final piece of the puzzle to lock in this new identity. For the next 7 days straight, I want you to perform a 60-second audit every single night before you go to sleep. Open your accounts, Don't judge yourself, don't panic, and do not look away. Calmly, just look at the data. Acknowledge where the energy went. By doing this, you're literally rewiring your neuroplasticity to see money as a tool, not a monster under the bed. You're teaching your subconscious that you are the one in control, and you're proving to yourself that you are no longer afraid of the numbers. The real shift happens when you realize that the most valuable asset you own isn't sitting in a wallet, it's the discipline between your ears. Your future self is either going to thank you for the systems you built today or pay the price for the excuses you made. Stop ghosting your future. Stop playing defense against your own bank account and start building your war chest. If you're ready to stop